Welcome to the May full moon celebration. I'm Kendra Kobler and I'll be your Moonshot MC. Please introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know where you're calling in from. And please stay on mute when you're not speaking. Thank you. And beware of the share screen function. And we'll kick off today's call with a quick introduction from Susie Ellis, our chair and CEO of the Global Wellness Institute, on the extensive reach of the Wellness Moonshot by starting with an overview of our strategic partnerships. So I will get the share screen up for you, Susie.
Thank you, Kendra, and a very nice segue with the word extend. So welcome everyone to the May full moon celebration with the word of the month being extend. And somebody just mentioned in the chat, and I'm in Miami and that person was in Miami, that the moon was so bright that you didn't really even need a light to read. And I agree. I took a picture and it was reflecting off the ocean and, quite extraordinary. So welcome everyone. I wanted to let those of you who are new know, and actually those of you who've been with us before, a little bit more about our strategic partnerships. So it was in 2017 when the Global Wellness Institute launched the Wellness Moonshot, a world free of preventable disease. Now, since that time, we have seen this bold project gain tremendous traction. And as you can see from this slide, we now have over 4,000 organizations and individuals participating, and we are impacting over 154 million people. So those are people who are currently engaged, either accessing our monthly content, creating events and activities in their workplaces, and focusing on prevention. However, we are not satisfied with hundreds of millions of people. We want all 7.9 billion people on the planet to be engaged. That is my vision. So when I looked at the moon last night, my vision is that sometime in the future, all 7.9 billion people who will look at the full moon will think about prevention and what that means for themselves and others to live healthy lives. And really in a way that they will all reach their personal moonshot, which is that they themselves will be free of preventable disease. Well, we knew we had to reach across continents and raise awareness. And in order to expand the reach of the Wellness Moonshot, we needed passionate partners. One of them was Prevention magazine. Some of you can go to the next slide, Kendra. Prevention was a partnership with Prevention magazine that we started a couple of years ago, where they actually put on the in their magazine the word of the month and the information that Renee provided, and it was also online. So we continue to have partnerships with magazines and other organizations. But most importantly of all is that we have found partners, or maybe I should say they have found us, and stepped up to say that they would like to represent the Wellness Moonshot, a world free of preventable disease in their countries. And this is what we're going to hear from today from China, because Victor Koo stepped up from Tinren Culture. And what's so exciting is that each person who's stepped up, and that includes Amir Ilroy from Israel and Dr. Modi from India, have in their own ways figured out ways that they want to promote prevention in their country. So over to you, Kendra, and I am very excited that we're going to hear more about what's happening with the Wellness Moonshot, a world free of preventable disease in China today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Susie. Great overview. Thank you for setting the stage. And I now have the pleasure of introducing our special guest and global strategic partner, Teresa Dai, representing Tianren Culture. And a brief bio on Tianren. Tianren Culture is a Chinese-based next generation social platform whose mission is to drive positive values and lifestyles. She will speak to how they reach Chinese people with health advice that resonates, using powerful content grounded in the Eastern philosophy that well-being comes from harmony between humans and nature. Over to you, Teresa, and you can share your screen whenever you're ready.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Yeah, can everybody see it?
Perfect.
Yeah, sure. So this is Teresa from Care and Culture, and as just Kendra introduced us, we are a social platform that promote positive values in the world. And I think, as Susie mentioned, we found Susie, and we are very thrilled to partner with Susie to promote all of those wellness ideas to prevent preventable diseases. We share Susie's vision, and we are a very big advocate in China for this vision. And I see some familiar faces from the group, and if you remember that we joined this big movement last year already, and last year we were the promoter, we were the translator of the English version of the wellness tips for the monthly wellness articles from the Wellness Moonshot. And this year would take another step forward. We formed our own Chinese version of the Wellness Moonshot because we think it's very important to bring out
See you
the
later. I'm
Chinese
going for my
wellness
walk.
know-how to the global audience as well. And we can contribute a little bit more to the society. And today I will be sharing why we are selecting all of the themes and what we want to focus on this year. And some of you might have already seen the article links on the website. And please read them. And if you have any questions, you can either contact Kendra or can contact me. So this year's themes is focusing on the biological rhythms, which is rooted in the Chinese culture. As there are two rhythms that are very important. One is the circadian rhythm, which divides the 24 hours to 12 intervals. For example, in the 11 p.m. interval, which is, I think, coming soon for me, is a time for people to get a rest because in this circadian rhythm concept, the liver needs to go to sleep at a time because that is the organ that toxify all of the bad things that accumulated in the daytime. So that's the time that you need to go to sleep. So in the morning, for example, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., your body awakens because the sun rises. So you need to follow the nature. And so you also need to wake up and do all of the activities and start a day very strong. And all of those notion is, I think it's echoing the belief that Chinese think there is a harmony between human and nature. And all of those rhythms are echoing that. And this year, we did not focus on circadian rhythm. Instead, we focus on the seasonal rhythm. And I don't know if you are familiar about that. So each year, the time is divided into 24 equal terms. So approximately, there are 2 terms for each month. And this is traditionally for agriculture. So people follow this rhythm. Farmers, they follow this rhythm for different practices in their farming practice. But that also indicates how people can adapt to the season for their wellness, for their body. For example, you can see now we are in the May, where is it? Yeah, here. So this is the beginning of summer, and this is the first term of summer. And now we just passed the grain rain, and which meaning the crops are ripening, and we are approaching autumn. And there's a lot of rainfalls in this season. And based on this idea, we came up with our Chinese version of the Wellness Moonshot. You must be very familiar about the one on the left side, which is a great global themes that we admire a lot, and we also promote that in China. Besides that, this year, based on the seasonal rhythms, we created our own Wellness Moonshot. And you can see for January, we have the theme of solidify. And now we are in May, it's embrace. And coming June, it's bold because we think it's the summertime and everything is bold and we should be, in spite of the hotness, we need to be bold and take great actions. And you can find them. I think you will find articles up to April on the website, and the May article will be coming up soon. And let me elaborate a little bit about the 24 solar terms. So, so spring is a time. Oh, let me explain why we start from February, because in the 24 solar terms, we think it starts from February because it's time for stretching, for reviving. And that's the time that you start. And then gradually it goes to summer, which is the period we are in. So I can share a little bit more on this period because it's relevant to us. In summer, we think that's a time when it's a time associated with heart, our organ heart. Because of the heat, because of all of the heatness in the temperature in the air, that we can be angry very easily. So it's suggested that we eat bitter food, and we eat some lotus seed, food like this to calm ourselves down. And also we are encouraged to take some meditation to calm ourselves down. So when you get irritated, when you get angry, you just slow down a little bit and add that yin energy to your body to balance that very strong yang energy. And that's reaching a harmony between yin and yang energy, which is a very important term in the Chinese culture. And then it moves to autumn when the weather is getting drier. So people are encouraged to eat pear, to drink honey water, just to nourish your body. So you can see Chinese people, they adapt their food, their exercise, their habits according to the change of the temperature, the change of the weather, the change of the season. And I think that is important concept I want to share with you. If you take one thing out from this sharing, this is you should adjust what you eat, what you do according to the seasonal change. And this is winter, and winter is when the yin energy is very strong, and the yang energy, which is the bold side, the summer side I just described, it's weakened. Just like animals, they are going for hibernation. Our body is also going for hibernation. So this is a very good time that we kind of preserve energy to wait for another spring to come. So this year, so in the winter, you can eat some for example, I don't know what you eat. You can eat beef, eggs, dates, like what I wrote here, like mushrooms, to give yourself a lot of energy. So you can start strongly when spring comes. And you can read more on GWI's website. We have like detailed sharings and what you can eat, or you can exercise, what habits need to change in that particular season for your reference. And we are very glad that we are partnering with GWI on this great mission and to promote this, make this preventable disease disappear in this world. We are very dedicated to this cause. Yeah, thanks for having me today.
Thank you so much, Teresa. That was a great overview. It's so important for us to think about the seasons. And one thing I especially like about the China Moonshot is how you incorporate recipes to make sure that you're consuming the right nutritional, contents at the right time of year. So thank you for sharing that. Make sure you check it out and try those spring pancakes, which look especially good this time of year. So thank you again.
Thank you, Kendra.
Wonderful. So to keep the agenda moving, I would now love to poll our audience. And so before you will see our poll question. And this poll question is inspired by Renee's May article and her recommended actions to extend wellness leadership to your own network. So what type of social support do you most often extend to those in need? So by definition, social support is intended by the sender to be helpful and is one of the important functions of positive social relationships. So make sure you get your vote in. We will be sharing the results a little bit later because we like to leave you in suspense.
Hey, can you call me back? Like about 11? Okay. Okay then. All right.
All right, 10 more seconds and then I will close the poll. I still see them coming in. It's very interesting, especially this time of year or after the year we've had within the wellness space. All righty, thank you for casting your vote. Stay tuned for results. Now I would like to introduce Renee Moorfield, who's the CEO of Wisdom Works, a social enterprise that builds well-being driven leaders, brands, and workplaces globally. And she is on the board of the Global Wellness Institute, and she is the author of our insightful Moonshot articles. Today, Renee will speak on this month's focus, Extend.
Thank you, Kendra, and thank you, Teresa. I have been fascinated by what you're doing with the Moonshot in China and as a way to really extend the effects of the Wellness Moonshot globally and really that reach. I love the design and the harmony within the approach you're taking. So just thank you for that. I really want to speak to us as wellness leaders today. There's lots in the article about different ways to extend. You know, we extend by having an audacious Wellness Moonshot, which is a world free of preventable disease. You can't get much more audacious than that. We extend through having our own personal Wellness Moonshot to be the kind of people who are continually on the well-being journey ourselves and trying to be an invitation to the wellness of others. We extend by giving a hand to others. So I want to talk more about us, ourselves today. As wellness leaders, I feel like we are continually in situations where we're like on the bow of the ship. If you think about a ship and you think about the pictures of that woman, that symbol on the bow that is breaking the waves and that is constantly paving the way, opening up a path for others. It feels like over the last, at least for me, and I feel like I'm speaking to the choir here, over the last 30, 35 years, it's been a constant source of, when you talk about prevention, up until recently, that wasn't a conversation we were having collectively, and finally that's happening. So I feel like as wellness leaders, it's so important for us to be able to take care of ourselves. I'm working with an organization right now. Through the pandemic, they have not only stayed highly engaged in their work, keeping the organization afloat with all the challenge, they've continued to push for change, push. And after a year and a half of that, they are now feeling burnt out. So when we talk about the word extend, I think it's important for us to be mindful of how we also overextend. And what's the way that we can extend from a place of our own strength, our own core inner resourcefulness, and our own well-being. So to give a physical little metaphor of that, I would love for everyone, whether I'm seeing your face or not seeing your face, or if you're on the phone, unless you're driving, do not do this if you're driving, but I'd love for everyone to reach out as far as you can so that you can, as if you could touch the walls, reach out as far as you can to touch the walls on either side of you. Just reach. Now notice this is an act of extension. And if I were to come to you right now and press on your hands would naturally collapse because we are all extending almost out of our arm sockets. Now put your arms down, just shake them out for a second. Now this time I want you to put those arms out again, reaching out to the walls on either wall out of the side of you. But this time I want you to, as if you had a penny between your shoulder blades, I want you to take those arm bones and press them back into the sockets. So just bringing the arm bones back in the sockets And now if I were to press on your hands now, I might be able to press them down, but there's more strength in that extension. Does everyone feel that in the body? Okay, go ahead and let your arms down. This is what I'm talking about as a physical metaphor. In what way, in our own wellness initiatives, you are leading initiatives in the education sector, in healthcare, in cities, in communities, in companies. In what way can you extend yourself and your initiatives from a place of strength and well-being? So that's what I want to leave us all with a question. And by the way, it's a question I'm asking myself every day as well. It is so easy in the consciousness of our world, the predominant consciousness is to overextend, 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 and not pay attention to exactly what Teresa was talking about, which is that sense of harmony in the body and harmony with a natural rhythm of how things can unfold. So thank you all for participating.
Thank you so much, Renee. Love that exercise, getting us back into the body to be more mindful. And you bring up a great question about overextending, which we'll ask our audience soon. So we'll get to hear from everyone. So thank you for being with us today. You're always a highlight. Now, to keep the moon's inspiration top of mind, I will introduce Nancy Davis, the Chief Creative Officer and Executive Director of the Global Wellness Institute, who will provide us with a moon moment.
Thanks, Kendra. Yes, mine is always a little offbeat and interesting, I hope. For some of our global friends, and we were talking about this before the call officially started, you got a view of the super flower blood moon total lunar eclipse in the night sky. People on the West Coast in Asia and Australia had a glimpse. Here, in the East Coast of the United States where I am, it was just a beautiful, bright, full moon. I looked up and I thought about the shadows on the moon. So my moon moment today is a little bit about moon shadows. It was 1971, and I was listening to my LPs on my fabulous stereo system in my bedroom in Cranston, Rhode Island. LPs, for all you youngsters, are those large vinyl discs with a tiny hole in the center, currently being reissued by all the cool people. The record was Teaser and the Firecat, and the song was Moon Shadow. I'm being followed by a moon shadow, sung Cat Stevens. And it's a phrase that's been with me since I first heard his dulcet tones. In this world of ours of the Wellness Moonshot, I've started to wonder about these words and their meaning. I've spent an inordinate amount of time on the NASA website, reading articles by scientists, and also revisiting the art of Giorgio de Chirico, whose paintings I love and whose paintings are famous for elongated shadows. So it turns out I'm not the only one making these connections. Writing for a website called phys.org, P-H-Y-S, Alice Gorman wrote a piece, and I'll put the link in the chat, titled Shadows on the Moon, a tale of ephemeral beauty, humans, and hubris. She explores the very nature of shadows on the moon and their unique properties, and they are very unique, very different than shadows we experience here on Earth. When Cat Stevens wrote Moon Shadow, Neil Armstrong had already stepped famously on the lunar surface. In fact, while we know well the sentence Armstrong uttered about one small step for man, there was a sentence he evidently spoke before. Quote, "It's quite dark here in the shadow, and a little hard for me to see that I have a good footing." End quote. I just want to say that I wish us all good footing in these days of elongated shadows.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nancy, for that inspiration. It's a great visual and also an excellent song. I'm sure we'll dance to Moon Shadow at some point. So thank you for sharing with us and keeping us looking up and keeping our footing grounded as well. So now it is time for our interactive Q&A portion, where I will present a question and we'd like for you to type a response in the chat box. So just one moment while I share my screen again. All right. So as you know, the theme for May is extend. And first up, we have, What types of resources or practices help you extend your imagination and moonshot thinking? What gets you feeling passionate, creative, optimistic, and solutions oriented? And a quick fun fact, yesterday was the 60-year anniversary of JFK's moonshot speech. Great. We have breathing, walking, meditation, very grounding exercises, movement, driving. Yes, I agree with driving too, Nancy. That's a great one. Nature, sunshine. We have some very soothing background music coming from one of you, so thank you for that. Nature and prayer, stillness, guided meditation. Fabulous. Please keep them coming. I will keep us moving and transition to the next question. Writing, that's a good one too. What inspires you to extend support to others? So before in the poll, we talked about what types of support, kind of like a love language, but what really motivates you to extend support to others? Is it the desire to share important information, the need for advocacy, your own gratitude, the hope for better outcomes? What is that key motivation? Seeing need. Thank you, Amy. Hi, Amy. Yes, sympathetic suffering, that's a motivator. Empathy, definitely. Collective learning, wonderful. These are great responses. Thank you for weighing in. What great engagement. Yes, we do want others to be happy. Teresa, I agree. Be the change you wish to see. Hi, Jeremy, great to see you. Wonderful. And I will move on to our third question, but please keep giving, these are great responses, very exciting. And this is related to what Renee said earlier and in her article, if you want to check it out. What practices can help us from extending too fast or too much? How can you extend your wellness leadership while cultivating, rather than losing, well-being? And how can we set some boundaries? Stay grounded, be present. Thank you, Esther. I agree. Sleep. Yes. Being self-aware. Yes. Taking a break from work. Holding space, knowing limits. That's hard. Knowing your own limit. Something you have to learn about yourself. Great. Be focused and intentional. Wonderful. So now, instead of our usual breakout sessions, we're going to all stay together this time, and I'm going to present one last question to the whole group, and we'll have a few people share verbally with everyone. So if you're interested in speaking, please raise your hand, unmute yourself, and please be brief so more people can participate. So the question is, and I'll take the share screen away in a moment, but I want to make sure everybody sees the question is, how can we learn from wellness practices in cultures unlike our own? What piqued your interest from the China moonshot, or is there another worldly source of inspiration for wellness that, that's your go-to? So I'm going to stop sharing the screen, but feel free with the whole audience. Would anyone like to go first? And I can also put the question in the chat. How can we learn from wellness practices in cultures unlike our own? Tavia, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Hi, how are you? Hello, everyone. The first thing that came to mind for me in hearing that is just being an advocate for travel. Of course, when we can, when it's safe, when we have the luxury of being able to travel and the resources to travel. Because I think that, especially now, as we know, more and more people are really moving toward purposeful travel. I think that people will seek out deeper and more enriched experiences in the places that they visit, in terms of learning about other cultures, seeing, experiencing it for themselves. And if travel's not an option, I think what we experienced today with Teresa and being part of this community is absolutely fantastic. I do have a lot of takeaways, and I'm sure everyone else does too.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tavia, and I agree. Hoping we can get back to travel soon. Sandy, would you like to share?
Thank you. The first thing that came to mind for me was yoga. And this, yoga's been around for 5,000 years, and I've learned so much from decades of yoga practice. So I just wanted to put that out there, that one thing we can learn is that there are so many of these practices that have been around for hundreds or thousands of years, and they're around because they work, and they're worth learning about through other cultures.
Absolutely. Yoga is a great example. I wonder if other, old practices come to mind from other cultures too. Anyone else like to share? I'm looking for raised hands. Richard.
Thank you. Yes, entering into festivals. Today is the International Day of Vesak. So it's a Buddhist festival all over the Buddhist world. And when you enter into festivals, you become happy. Thank you.
Very nice. Community is great. Yes. Judy.
Hi, thank you. Cultivating relationships with people who are obviously different from ourselves, whether they're from different cultures, their skin color, their lifestyle. And I have to say that moving to Southern California from the Washington, D.C. area was quite a culture shock, but I've loved the opportunity to interact and get to know people of all ages and different types of lifestyles. I've really embraced that. I love it. So I think that cultivating those relationships more than just casually, but really understanding, asking questions, learning about why people think the way they do, and having open conversations, and knowing that you don't have to embrace necessarily how they are and what their perspectives are, but understanding and knowing them. I think it really enriches us. And I think that really adds to the breadth and depth of our own wellness and our own holistic being. Anyway. Yeah.
That's so true. Thank you, Judy. And that's very on theme for extending your network. And this is a great place to do that and get to know others and talk about wellness practices. Sandra, good to see you. Welcome. Would you like to go?
Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah, hi, everybody. Good morning. I would say just have a reverence for the culture that you're practicing the practice from. I think quite often, I find in my experience, it's been very extractive, meaning yoga, a lot of these practices have been taken, and sometimes the respect to the culture where it came from is not necessarily attributed. And I think just being mindful of where those practices originate and really having a reverence for it, I think is really important.
So true. We definitely need to honor where these things came from and keep that in mind. Thank you for sharing and for being with us today. Is someone else? I'm looking for raised hands. Anybody else? I might want to call out Jeremy McCarthy. I know that you said in the chat the role of great teachers is important. It was a driver of the spread of yoga. Is there anything else you might want to say face to face? I don't know if you're camera ready. Maybe not. Nancy, I did see that you raised your hand.
Yeah, I was just going to, in fact, Jeremy was one of the people, but I was going to kind of ask people that we know in this network who have moved and lived in different countries. that maybe the inspiration and the wellness practices from those countries, Jeremy was somebody who came to mind, Sheila McCann, others who are on the call, who may have learned to embrace different practices because of them moving to different places in the world. And I just wonder, I mean, I always lived in the United States, so I don't have a lot of perspective, but I know a lot of people are global citizens, and I'd love to know what they think.
Regina?
Hi, good morning, everybody. It's so nice seeing you all. I'm from Germany originally, and when I came to the US, I found out it's a complete different story, the wellness idea and the wellness program. And wellness is very much embedded in Germany and the European culture, Hungary, the big spas, I mean, medically operated, of course. What helps me is really about reading and magazines, since I do not travel too much. So learning, and I think that GWI does a really great job with that. And maybe we can learn more by the master classes or lectures, how other cultures celebrate wellness or how they live wellness. My business is embedded in an area with a lot of Latinos. And for me, it was great to see how they celebrate community and relationship with, which is so different to my way or our way. So this helps to observe and talk to people who are like-minded like me and really want to know what's going on in the world with wellness.
Wonderful, thank you. Julie, would you like to share?
Yes, thank you, Kendra. So for many, many years, I have traveled all over the world in my job as a spa educator and as a consultant. And I think that for me, it's always been amazing to be able to have time on those travels to discover how local people embrace wellness, their different wellness practices. Spent a lot of time in the Baltic states, in Russia. And I've always loved that connection, real deep connection with nature and tradition and rituals, which I think has always given them such a powerful moment of resource. And I always think in my mind, you know, the place that I would love to spend more time is somewhere like Iceland, where they have this very deep connection with culture and traditions, and obviously their natural habitat. So I think that's a fascinating thing with working and traveling, is if you can take that time to spend, to explore a little bit more when you're there, to, you know, to bring back those great practices.
Definitely. So hard to prioritize when you're traveling and working, but that's
Absolutely,
fair that you remind us of that, especially
Yeah.
as the world begins to open up a bit more. So thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy, would you like to share?
Thank you, Kendra. I wanted to share, I haven't lived there, but I spent quite some time in Japan. And I wanted to share, when I was there last time, how I learned a practice when I was doing a tea ceremony. It was a beautiful tea ceremony, and they do a practice that is called Ichigo Ichie. And it means that this moment will only come once and it should be treasured. And it's something that always has resonated for me from that culture. And you bring it back home and you recognize each moment you have these Ichigo Ichie moments wherever you are. I was in Central Park this weekend, and all of a sudden the white flowers started falling down from the trees. And I thought, that was an Ichigo Ichie moment. And I learned that when I was in Japan.
Love it. So good to stay present. I love that little mantra. So thank you. Valeria?
Hi everyone. I'm born in Latvia, Russian speaker, so kind of Slavic background, and I grew up in Ireland, so somewhat different culture. And the example that came to my mind is on my first workplace. I was working on a graduate program in a bank. I was part of organizing a multicultural day. So it's like 12,000 people bank, and between the head offices, there were like a few thousand of people. So it was a big event. And it was really amazing because all the different people who represent their cultures in the workplace had like a stand, like a trade show style, with their food, their national dress, maybe some dance or some brochures. And I just thought now that it might be really cool once it's possible again in workplaces or communities to have something similar, but maybe with more focus on the wellness practices rather than just culture in general. But like, how did our grandmothers make special tea or recipe or something like that to heal something?
I love that. And I'm curious how, what the overlap is with wellness and maybe, you know, the groceries and fashion. You know, you mentioned dress, so it'd be interesting how, you know, they could all fold together.
I know in Slavic cultures, when the women have been doing the clothes for the man, they actually did special, I don't know, some special symbols on it that will protect them in the war or something along those lines.
Oh, very nice. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Maria?
Hi, I am from Honduras. I haven't been in the call for several months, but it's always a pleasure to be here. I had a chance to travel and live Mexico, United States, and to travel a lot. But this time, the virtual reality has brought a lot of new experiences with new people that I hope when the world starts to open, we can meet and visit these places from the people we have met throughout this year and a half. So I've learned a lot in the virtual world, maybe more or even with more experiences that I had never thought about. So thank you.
Thank you. It's good to be positive about virtual experiences too. I feel like
yes.
we often shape it as like we're trapped, but thank you. It's good to stay positive.
Yeah.
I feel so connected with everyone. We're all over the world. It's great.
Right.
I think over 35 countries RSVP'd for this one. So very exciting. Ranga?
Yes. Hello, everybody. So I have studied, lived, and worked in 3 continents and spent time in over a dozen countries. And my favorite expression is same difference. And one thing that fascinates me is how the different pace and growth of civilizations across continents have all connected to nature for their well-being needs. So whether you take the fango mud therapy in Italy or the thalasso in the south of France, or you take the ritual water rituals in Asia, somehow a lot or almost all the wellness practices that I have seen have their origins in the natural elements in that place. And that has given rise to some of the most prevalent and popular and sometimes very pampering rituals that we see in our spas today.
That's so true. I think it helps keep us grounded too. That's great to remember those rituals. Thank you. Colette?
Okay, unmute. Hi, it's great to be here with all of you. One thing for me is food and cultures and how they use it for healing in different combinations that, especially us as Americans, since we have an American diet, we don't consider. And so that always fascinates me when I go to different cultures to learn about the combinations. So that's what I wanted to share.
I don't know if they were laughing at you. I thought that was a great comment. So thank you, Colette. Allison.
Hi, everyone. My story is about living and working in Japan, in Tokyo. And what I really learned and what they emphasized was community. We did our morning chant all in one room. We had lunch together. We did the nap room in the afternoon. We did the game room in the afternoon. And the end of the day, we ended up at the company bar. And it was a new experience for me because the pace, it was just a steady pace with community. And coming from, Washington, D.C. area, we worked hard, and then took a break. So it was just kind of the pace and celebrating your community.
Such a good point. I feel like in the States, it's always, so much hustle and bustle. Teresa.
Yeah, I have two interesting observations I want to share with you. The first is about meditation. And we know about that meditation comes from Buddhism. Actually, it's from Eastern culture, but it didn't go very popular here because it's associated with a religion and people, Buddhism, especially Buddhism, and the people they don't believe in the religion, they will kind of put away the very good stuff in this practice. And when we look at the Western world, actually, I think there are very popular apps that I also use myself, like Headspace and 10% Happier. So they would disassociate those wisdom with religion. So more secular people, they can get access to it. So they feel it's good for themselves instead of believing something religion that's probably too much for some of people. And I think some of the China entrepreneurs, they are learning from the Western practices. So they are emphasizing the wellness part of meditation instead of the religion part, so that more common people, they can learn about it and practice it. So I really see the interesting dynamics between two cultures, learning from each other and adapting to each other. And another observation is I shared about the 24 solar terms, and people, they change their diets according to the season. And especially in summer, when we feel we are angry, irritated, we would drink herbal tea. And I think, because I studied in the United States also, and I saw people, when they felt angry or they felt nervous, they would also drink mint tea or chamomile tea. So I think there's a lot common than difference between cultures. And I'm pondering if the ultimate wisdom actually is similar in each culture. And that ultimate wisdom is for everyone to pursue.
So true, Teresa. As Ranga said, same difference. There are a lot of, we're more alike than we are different, perhaps. And it's just interesting to see the little nuances everywhere. So thank you for sharing. Wonderful. So thank you so much. I think it was a great success staying together, maybe better than the breakout rooms. Feel free to give feedback on that. I'm glad that a lot of people had time to contribute. And now I have the pleasure of announcing the winner of the May Moonshot Challenge, who is with us today, Sandra Trinidad, who is a youth health educator at the LA County Department of Public Health. And her intention is to share these resources both with her colleagues and her students that she'll be working with in the fall. Sandra, we'd love to briefly hear about the work that you're doing.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for that introduction, Kendra. I really stumbled upon your website actually not long ago, just doing research about wellness. We're preparing to open up the public schools within LA County. And I work with high school students. So our focus is going to be really in engaging with them and helping them process some of the big feelings that have developed over this past year. At the same time, I think we as health educators and public health workers have to also practice some of those elements as well, because we're now returning into our workplaces. And so what energetics are we bringing with us, and being self-aware of how that's going to manifest is really important. So I'm really excited to learn about the different modalities that are going to be shared as part of this collection that the Asian Moonshot will bring. And it's fascinating to know that there's so much we can learn from. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm so glad you stumbled upon us and so happy you joined us, and you'll be receiving a Moonshot calendar in the mail as your prize. And it's also it's great to hear because we'll have an update soon about our children's Moonshot calendar, as teaching wellness at a young age is certainly top of mind. And we want to do so with students finally returning to the classroom in person this upcoming fall. So very exciting. Thank you. And now, since I left you on the edge of your seats, I will share the poll results. As you can see, emotional was the type of social support that we are, it comes most naturally to us. So we hope this quick exercise helped you see what type of positive support is, your go-to, and we hope you continue to extend your wellness leadership to others in this way. Great. I will close this, and I would like to ask you to save the date for our next full moon celebration in June, which is on Thursday, June 24th, and the theme is include. Wonderful. So last but certainly not least, I would like to introduce Lisa Fasulo from the Center for Transformative Movement to lead us in a dance experience featuring one of my favorite moon songs. In line with our monthly theme, the movement will involve some dynamic stretching and extending, which helps improve posture, blood flow, stress relief, flexibility, and just feels so very good. So please make sure to turn up your music so you can hear, Lisa's guidance, as well as one of the best songs of all time. So Lisa?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, wonderful. What I'm going to do is I'll talk for about 30 seconds and then we'll dance with, it's so nice to hear the lyrics without my voice interrupting. So when we think of what I wrote here, some words, it's tend, the word tend means stretch. So we talk about intention a lot. That's where we're stretching, or our tendency, or our tendon. So it's nice to even think of the word extend having that stretch in it, like we've all talked about in different ways. So when we think of stretching, a lot of times we think of just like, stretching this or extending. What really, like an octopus, an octopus extends, it goes from its shoulder, elbow, that way. So it's kind of a flow. Instead of just a lift, it's a flow. So try that now. Shoulder, elbow, hand. You can do it upward, shoulder, elbow, hand, and it just adds a little more flow. And because of that, feel good. So we're always trying to kind of juice the feel good and get those chemicals going. When we just do this, that's a movement and mobility, but it doesn't give you the same as really moving and developing just a hot tip that has you go. So this is a beautiful song that I'm sure everyone will remember. Nancy had suggested that we, do the Moonshot, moon dance last time, loved it. So we're probably going to transition into songs about moons. It only makes sense. So today, as Kendra said, dancing in the moonlight, take it away. So let's see how many ways we can, and just follow along.